Hello, beautiful people. I would like to talk in this one today a little bit about Vata season or autumn that we're currently moving into in the southern hemisphere. And autumn is Vata season. It is all about being governed by the air and ether element, and therefore it brings up certain tendencies and imbalances, and therefore also certain treatment approaches and lifestyles and extra self-care that looks different to other times of the year in order to support us and really maintain our equilibrium and balance. So physically, let's start with our environment actually. And so, the qualities of air and ether of Vata are very much mobile, rough, changeable, cold in terms of cooler than summer, which we experience already, other than today, getting into that. Mobile, rough, changeable, cold, light, airy, right? And so we see that in our environment a lot in autumn. You see that we're here in the southwest of Australia, we tend to get big storms. They're about to come in with like massive swells, and then have those temperature fluxes like going up and down, and you will have a randomly hot day like today, and then it will randomly cool down again the same night or another day, and you have all the fog laying in the valleys of the fields. And so you can see how the weather and our environment is really embodying this chop and change kind of quality, and that instills roughness in our system as well. Rough as in confusion, inconsistency, a lack of routine in what temperature or what weather to prepare for. And the sun is progressively rising later and setting earlier, so our daylight decreases and quite rapidly does so at this time of the year as well. So there's a lot of irregularities that this season brings with it. So how does our body respond? In Ayurveda we say like attracts like. It's like 1 + 1 is 2. So if our environment is rough, our body has changeable, mobile, and so forth. Our body has the natural tendency to adapt to the environment, given that we are all governed by nature's circadian rhythms, since we are part of nature and her children. So common imbalances that we see in our body right now would, if it was in 2020, we would probably have a really high flu rate, but that's a little bit under the carpet right now. But normally we would have, and not politically, we would have colds and flus increase a lot. This is your time for kind of head colds, rough throats, any kind of throat bronchitis conditions, sniffly noses, post-nasal drop, but also things like feeling excessively dry in your body, and that can show up by through always feeling dehydrated, having a parched throat, a dry palate, dry skin, or irregular digestive symptoms such as gas, bloating, tending to constipation, or kind of being looser some day and then not so loose another day. And any symptoms of irregularity we are prone to this time of the year. So in order to balance this excess Vata in our environment and in our body, and mind you, it's also a time of liver congestion. This time, not like in spring where our liver tends to be congested through the winter we went through, but actually through overheating in summer. And as we might know, we see that in this country's bushfires a lot, that excessive heat or fire at the end of the day leaves dryness and cracking. And so that is the same in our body. We're coming out of the summer heat, and now that we're moving into winter, things are cooling down, chop and change, we're creating more dryness overall as well. So we balance that with the opposites. So our focus in autumn, more than in any other season of the year, is to really ground down, to do nourishing things, to have oleation practices like oiling your skin externally, as well as eating healthy fats. Still, it depends on where in the world you are, but if it's still relatively warm coming out of a late summer, then you still want to eat somewhat cooling foods, but not too dry, too cold. You still want to balance that with starting to bring in the more warming, nourishing, really hearty kind of soups as we're moving closer towards winter. It's also with the seasons, it's not like, first day of autumn, everything switches. It's very progressive, right? As summer is fading out and it's kind of overlapping with spring coming in. or autumn, or all the seasons are kind of overlapping the next one. So it's progressive, and it really depends on your mind body type. It depends on where in the world you live, in terms of what specific diet and lifestyle and herbs and so forth you'd be following at this time of the year. However, they are those rough guidelines that we are balancing the rather getting cooler, cold, rough, mobile, changeable, airy, light qualities of Vata, that we balance them out with the more grounding, nourishing, heavy, nurturing kind of qualities in our food, in our lifestyle, and in our self-care as well. So now is probably not the time to have like all those yang activities we're following, like jumping from one thing to the other and being super active and super driven. You can be driven, but you will actually make your drive a lot more efficient and effective if you balance that with a lot more yin, a lot more slowness, a lot more single tasking, a lot more grounding through self-care practices like daily abhyanga, meditation, making sure you're replenishing your electrolytes, sipping warm teas, the Molson teas likely throughout the day, and so forth. So really now's the time to really rebalance all the yang that's been coming through summer season with a lot more yin, so we can maintain balance throughout autumn or Vata season. Beautiful. I would like to hear how autumn has been showing up in you so far, in your body, and in your mind. So I didn't mention that yet either. So obviously our environment, or the qualities around us affect us physically, but also mentally, emotionally, all based on their energetic influence. And so in our mind, things that can show up frequently right now are things like overwhelmed, feeling stressed, anxious, confusion, feeling airy, or kind of overwhelmed, I said, kind of a little bit stuck in the ruts because you don't quite know where to go, like being very contemplative and maybe indecisive. Things like insomnia can show up, wild dreams, your energy being kind of spiking and at a low, same with your sleep levels, them being a little bit confused. So you really find that the season, any season, has a very much holistic impact on our being, at any given time. So now I would like to hear how you feel autumn already impacting you in your mind, in your body. Otherwise, what is happening for you in your life right now, where you just had an aha moment of, right, it's not just me doing something fully weird, it's actually also the bigger picture that's impacting me. Just like the moons, the seasons are another huge cycle that we should live in sync with for the most balance, harmony, expansion, success, and abundance, and happiness, and all the things. Anyhow, if you're keen on learning a bit more about this one, then I would like to invite you to my first of the coming monthly free webinars via Zoom, and that will be all about living in sync with nature's season, which with your circadian rhythms, why to do that, what that means, and we'll be going more through kind of the basics in terms of that through Ayurveda and some of the foundations. And that will be happening on Wednesday. I just forgot the date, so we'll pop that into the description below. It's not next week, it's the week after. It might be the 14th. I think it is the 14th at 9 a.m. Western Australian Standard Time. So that would be 1:12 p.m. on the east coast of Australia. You'll find your time zone. Feel free to join me for that one. If you can't make the live time, a recording will be sent out to everyone who's joining us. And so you can go through it in your own time. And going from there, the next Ayurvedic immersion is coming up very soon. Mid-April, we are embarking on our holistic autumn detox and cleanse, and we're really thoroughly moving with the seasons from late summer through autumn into winter, so that equips you with all the know-how to really access this innate wisdom of yours to live in sync with that first half of the year, or second half, however you look at it. Anyway, so if you're curious to learn more about this, check out the webinar. You'll find the link in my bio, and I can't wait to hear from you and your Vata and autumn season, and connect with you very soon.